What's up, Boiler Nation? It is finally time. Week 1 is right around the corner with our first game against Ball State, and we get to see what Coach Odom's team with all these new transfers and incoming players is going to look like, and I can't wait to jump into it. We're going to go over all the important matchups, storylines, players to watch, all those kinds of things today, so make sure you follow along, hit that like, and subscribe. Let's do it. Starting off with the basics, this is a home game for Purdue playing against Ball State August 30th at noon here at Ross-Ade Stadium. It's supposed to be a wonderful day. So far looking like 75 and cloudy, which is perfect football weather. If you're staying at home, you can watch on Fox Sports or YouTube TV. Currently, Vegas has Purdue as a 17-point favorite. You might see 6.5, might need 17.5 or 17, but generally 17 is kind of the average of what you're seeing, which means that Purdue is expected to win by 17 points. Both teams coming off of pretty similar situations. Purdue went 1-11 last year, right, and hired new head coach Barry Odom, whereas Ball State went 3-9 last year and hired new head coach Mike Yurevich, who is, in fact, a Purdue grad. First up, we've got 3 key matchups to keep your eye on as you are watching the game. First one, pretty obvious, Purdue's O-line versus Ball State's D-line. Purdue is breaking in 5 brand new starters, the offensive line, who have never played in a live game together. So how will they gel, and can they get a push for this run-heavy offense? Ball State's D-line is bringing back some returning players who are even like first-team All-MAC. So there is some production and some kind of returning chemistry there for Mike Yuravich's team. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out, and it'll be a good first test for the Boilermakers. Second is Ball State quarterback Kiel Kelly versus Purdue's defense. He is a dual threat running quarterback. He's played wide receiver, defensive back, quarterback, all kinds of things in his career at Ball State, and Mike Yuravich is going to run a heavy quarterback run system. And last year, if you watched Purdue, you saw how much they struggled with that. Now, this is a whole new team, lots of new players, new coaches, all the things, right? But I think generally, if you can shut down the quarterback run, you shut down Kiel Kelly, force him to throw, and Purdue's defense will have a much better day if they can do that. Lastly, we have Purdue's wide receivers. They are largely unproven, lots of guys who have a lot of potential, but not a lot of production coming into the year. So it's interesting to see who steps up, who you can rely on, who makes plays for this Boilermaker offense and makes life easy for new quarterback Ryan Brown. On the flip side of things, Ball State does have a couple returning corners who are starting, and then a couple new ones in the transfer portal. So this should be a good first test for our Boilermaker wide receivers to see who can step up. If you're a Purdue fan, one of the main things to keep an eye out for is the fact that we have 82 new players. If you're going to the game, pull the roster up in your phone before you get into Ross-Ade Stadium. If you're at home on the couch, make sure you do the same, because there are going to be a lot of new faces, a lot of different lineups they're testing as well. So there's going to be a lot of players to keep an eye on, see who stands out to you. Second big thing, Ryan Brown is starting at quarterback. There's a lot to say there, but Ryan Brown's an interesting guy with an interesting story, but a lot of fans have wanted him to start ever since he transferred back in. He's 6'4", 215, great legs, runs a 4.5 in the 40, has a decent arm as well. So he's going to be the first guy to start. And the real question, rather than him, I think, is who can step up around him to help him out. Coach Odom, Coach Hinshaw, the quarterback's coach, and everyone has talked about building a really quarterback-friendly system. And so I think as long as they can keep things simple and execute on a base level, they'll be able to do a decent job. On defense, my biggest question for Purdue is, can they generate a pass rush? Their 4 starting defensive linemen have a combined 0 sacks in their entire career, and they have 20 tackles between all 4 of them. Now, they're overall a pretty young unit, so I think there's a lot of upside there, and the coaches really like them, but can they get a pass rush? Can they get to Kiel Kelly and slow down the Ball State offense? Has yet to be seen. I'm optimistic, but it'll be interesting to watch for. Lastly, if you watched Purdue football last year, right, you know a lot of the time that we were just not competitive. We were not a tough team. There were a lot of penalties and flags. And Coach Odom's whole mindset, right, is hard, tough, smart. And so I think if Purdue can be competitive with everyone engaged, involved, and playing really hard, if they can be tough, and really be kind of a team that maybe isn't winning pretty, but can make a lot of tough plays and play good defense. And lastly, are they disciplined? Do they avoid penalties, flags, things like that? I think will make a huge difference on the outcome. Now, when we look at what Ball State's going to want to do on both sides of the ball, on offense, they're going to want to run the ball all day. We talked about it a little bit with quarterback Kiel Kelly needing contained as a running threat there, but the running backs also are going to be a threat. They have Ashley Qua, who is a transfer in from Kennesaw State, I believe. And then also they have Elijah Jackson, who was at Purdue, and they are going to run all 3 of those guys a ton. And now normally you would think against a Big Ten team trying to be a run-heavy, run-first offense is going to be at a disadvantage due to the size of the lines. But the way the transfer portal works now, Mike Yurevich has went out and got some huge people to put on his offensive line. They have Chris Hood, who's 6'10", 315. They have Adam Dolan, who was with him at Butler and was FCS All-American, who's 6'8", 300. Then at center, they have Otto Hess from Boston College, who's 6'7", 330. So they have some huge human beings on the O-line. they're going to look to get a push on Saturday. On defense, they run a 4-2-5 scheme, which means they have 4 defensive linemen, 2 linebackers, and 5 defensive backs. One of those defensive backs is a specialist position called a sniper. That's kind of a hybrid combo between a safety and a linebacker, so a little bit bigger safety or a smaller linebacker that gets moved all around, covers all kinds of guys, and even has their own position coach. And then also on defense, they have 7 of 11 starters returning. So there's a lot of people who, despite the fact that wasn't a very good team, they're going to have some cohesiveness to that defense with guys that were already from Butler last year, supplemented with just 4 transfer portal guys subbing in the other spots. And they have some key contributors that have a lot of experience and are pretty good. They have a first-team projected All-MAC defensive lineman. They have a second-team projected All-MAC linebacker. They have a cornerback who started as a true freshman last year and is now looking to start again as a sophomore. So they have some pieces returning that could develop and already have some cohesiveness and chemistry to them. So I wouldn't sleep on the defense. For my first key to victory for Purdue is simply going to be offensive execution. Going out there, running the plays that they're supposed to run, avoiding penalties, things like that to make sure you don't get behind the sticks. And that seems really simple and kind of silly, but Purdue has a bunch of new players all kind of playing together in a live game for the first time. And a lot of our key contributors came in the spring transfer portal window. Ryan Brown, our starting quarterback, Braden Joyner, potentially our starting center, and Michael Jackson III, our first wide receiver, all came in that spring window. So getting some chemistry between them probably is not going to be immediate. So making sure we avoid penalties, run the basic parts of the offense, and don't shoot ourselves in the foot, I think is a huge key to being successful. Second, on defense is going to be containing quarterback Cale Kelly and his legs. So stopping the QB run will be huge. He is a dynamic athlete, a great runner, and Ball State's going to do a lot of interesting things with him, I think. However, if you can try to limit him to being more of a pocket passer, limit the long runs, all those kind of things will go a long way in shutting down Ball State's offense in its entirety. Lastly, winning the turnover battle. Purdue football is not in a place where they're going to go out and score a bunch of points every day. So they need to get into the habit of playing smart, playing disciplined, and really just taking simple things the defense gives them, right? They don't need to make big plays constantly. And so if they can play smart, play kind of slow, and limit turnovers while also potentially getting more to the other side, that is going to make a huge difference. As my final prediction for game 1 is Ball State 17, Purdue 38. And I will say, doing the research on this game, Ball State kind of surprised me with some of the size they have and things like that. I think could actually give them a shot to be competitive. However, I still don't think that just from an offensive line and defensive line standpoint, they're going to be able to go 4 quarters with Purdue and maintain what they need to run their way to victory. Ultimately, I think they might come off to a strong start and kind of be able to, pull things over on Purdue with the quarterback run game and all kinds of stuff like that. By the end of it, Purdue probably will have filled it out. The coaching staff will make adjustments and things will probably run pretty smoothly. And while Purdue is stronger on offensive line as well, their run game is probably going to really snowball in the second half, and I think that allows them to pull away. So, game 1, 1-0. So there you have it with the week 1 preview for the Ball State game coming up. Let me know what you think in the comments. Did I leave anything important out? Do you want to let me know your prediction? Go ahead and drop it down there, and make sure you leave a like and subscribe as well. I'll see you guys later. Boiler up.